get recorded. So, yep, you can start off, Jayashree. Welcome to the Toronto Mulesoft Group. This is our 19th. I think it's the mix of both in-person and virtual one. So it's the 19th meetup that we are conducting here at Toronto. And the topic is all about event sourcing using Mulesoft by Jayashree. So we are the organizers here. You can see Mahesh, Kishore, Anurag, and myself, Shravan. We are the organizers for Toronto Meetup Group. So if you would like to speak for the event, or if you want to become a leader, or if you have any questions regarding the Mulesoft community, you can always feel free to reach out to us. You can connect with us on LinkedIn, or you can go to the event page, the Toronto Meetup Group page. You can click on contact organizers, so you can drop an email to us. So a little introduction about myself. I'm Shravan Lingam. I'm working as a Mulesoft architect at Bilinium, Canada. So I have overall of 8 years of experience, and out of which 7 years is on Mule. That's a little introduction about myself. Maybe Anurag, you can speak a few words about yourself.
Yep. Thanks, Shravan. Uh, yeah, so I am, along with Shravan, I am also acting as a meetup leader for this Toronto group. I am currently working as an associate solution architect with Epicero Canada. I have around 9 years of experience in integration domain. Earlier experience was in TIPCO. After that, switched to MuleSoft. Around 7 years in MuleSoft. Uh, and I have worked with the various clients like manufacturing, healthcare, and banking and airline domain. Yeah, so I think that's the short introduction about me.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. Once again, thank you guys for joining from various parts of the world. Appreciate it. Jayashree, can we go to the next slide? Yeah, this is just a statement, guys. Both the speaker and the hosts, we are organizing this meetup in the individual capacity, and we are not representing any other companies. And this is only for strictly for learning purpose, and we do not hold any responsibility for the same solution will work for your business requirements. Yeah, just the next slide. So the basic housekeeping rules, guys, you all know that we are like few of them are muted, and they are not enabled the presenter mode. There are some reasons, like if you make you host, sometimes when people leave the meeting, they just end up clicking on leave meeting for all, which will end the session. That's the reason we are not making hosts for everyone. But you can always feel free to chat, ask your questions in the Q&A tab, or you can just type the message in the general tab. And we can keep it can be an interactive session. Meanwhile Jayashree is presenting, I will, if there are any questions, I will ask her to answer them, or it can be answered at the end of the demo as well. And maybe at the end of the demo and at the end of the presentation, we can make you host, so that we have some time for uh, uh, socializing. And after all the presentation, here it is mentioned that quiz will be conducted, but these trivia questions, or these questions will be asked in the middle of the sessions as well. So please be attentive what Jayashree is talking about, and she will ask you questions in the middle of the session. And it's I think you can answer the questions on the chat. She will explain you better when she gets started. Okay. And don't forget to give us the feedback, good or bad. Feedback is really important for us to improve ourselves. Okay, so go to the next one. And please feel free to volunteer our future Toronto group. And what do you expect and all, you can mention in the feedback form. And if you have any question, just click on the contact organizer in the meetup page. Yeah. So a little introduction about the MuleSoft community. So we recently have completed this Dreamforce event, which is a global event, happened at San Francisco. So this is a tour basically. So most of you might have not attended this event in person. So we are trying to accommodate these sessions through these MuleSoft meetups groups, which will help you guys to know exactly what has happened at Dreamforce event. And people who are new to MuleSoft, I would always recommend you guys to log in through training.mulesoft.com portal. Just explore it. You have self-placed free courses, and you have some other courses as well. So please try to explore more, so that you will get a bit idea about MuleSoft. And Anypoint platform as well, you have a free trial account that you can use it for 30 days. Even after 30 days, you can use the same email ID to extend your subscription. But whatever happened for those past 30 days will be erased. So this is for the people who are new to MuleSoft. And if you have any questions, I know most of them keep asking their questions on all social media platforms like WhatsApp, Telegram, but I would always recommend to, though you got an answer, go to help.mulesoft.com, post it there and have an answer so that it will be useful for others who are facing the similar issue. And also one of the most important things, that there are some exam readiness sessions that are being conducted by Indian MuleSoft training team. So this will be really helpful for you guys to before, even before giving the exam like MCT or MCPA or MCIA, just try to attend these sessions. These sessions are for free, so this helps you to get your certification clear. And to become a speaker, leader, or mentor, you can always reach out to any one of us who are in MuleSoft community. It will done. And about vouchers, again this question will be coming up in the chat, so I am telling right now. So the people who win the trivia quiz or the questions which are asked by Jayashree, we will select three of them. We will send an email to you, so please don't forget to provide your email address for to us. So we will reach out to you with a link to register for the courses, but please make sure that you have not won any of the trivia quiz in the last 1 month, because you will not be awarded to more than one per month. So please make sure about that. And you will be this voucher will be given. So there is no kind of voucher. You are whatever the course you are requesting, that course will be aligned to your email ID. So there is no voucher concept here. So once you complete the training which you opted, then only you will be awarded with a free certification. It's not, there is no direct free certification voucher. First you have to attend the session, the training session, and then only upon attending that session you will be awarded with a free certification voucher. So that's all from my side. Maybe Jayashree, you can introduce yourself. I'll stop here. And yeah, good luck.
Thank you, Shravan. That was a good brief about the MuleSoft meetups. This is my first time presenting in MuleSoft meetup as well. So thank you for onboarding me on this. Um, so as Shravan mentioned, we'll do a quick introduction and we'll go through the session of event sourcing using MuleSoft. I've changed the format a bit by asking the three trivia questions in between the sessions, and then we can follow up with questions and networking as required. So I'll tell you something about me. So I actually attended Dreamforce as a speaker for this topic, and it was a very overwhelming experience, worth an experience. Definitely loved the forums and everything. And as Shravan mentioned, many of the sessions were missed out because they were simultaneous, and there was too much walking as well. So this virtual event made it possible for a person like me as well to be able to attend the events which I have missed. So, uh, my name is Jayashree J. Gohil, and I've been with BlackBerry for 14 years and 8 months now. And for this part, we all do multiple hats. And for this one, I'm an architect and a technical leader in BlackBerry. And to tell you about our MuleSoft journey. Our MuleSoft journey started in about 2018 around, and we never looked back. We migrated all of our APIs to MuleSoft platform within a year following the C4E model. And I must say that we couldn't have been possibly be able to do that without the maturity and practices that were offered by the MuleSoft integration platform. However, this is not my topic for today, maybe some other day. Today, I'll be sharing my experience and knowledge on how we addressed critical business use cases using event sourcing using MuleSoft. I'll also discuss about a couple of scalable and efficient design patterns to implement this using MuleSoft technology for today's session. So the very first question comes is how did I come to think about this? So the answer is acquisitions and mergers. With acquisitions and mergers came new and additional tech stacks, multiple instances of CRMs, SaaS platforms, homegrown solutions as well, along with what we already have, and all these segregated systems storing a similar kind of or same kind of logical data like accounts, contacts, customers, etc. And this became a major hurdle for central business units. When I say hurdle, so what kind of hurdles? A need to identify which customer account contact exists in which systems. Also, reporting, forecasting, and all that became very critical as well, or very integral, and we had to segregate to different segregate technologies to do that as well. Basically, to sum it up, the need of the hour was to have a system which is the source of truth for all such business centric data. In IT terms, we call it a real time data synchronization and ensuring all the aspects of accuracy, security, integrity, atomicity, consistency, and compliance. While acquisition and mergers is a global trend today, as the most widely used strategies for corporate makeover, and for us it was a major driver for look into this. But there are other factors as well which can trigger this requirement, like IT maturity. As a part of companies' IT segment growth, the technical teams either need to support the transition period from one platform to another, or upgrade to newer technology stacks while maintaining both at the same time. Also, system migrations happen frequently due to technology changes amid several hybrid platforms, etc. So let's just dive into the core topic. So, what is event sourcing? Event sourcing is a design pattern to model a system as a sequence of events in order to identify the changes which are made real time. It is also referred to as an event driven architecture. What are the benefits? It's reliably publishing the events whenever state changes, a state of a particular data changes, and consuming the events real time, maintaining the kind of asset properties for the data. Let me explain it with a simple business use case. Synchronizing accounts between Salesforce CRM and a database, and back and forth. And in implementing it using Mulesoft, which I'll show in a moment as well, makes it really cakewalk, because Mulesoft offers the off the shelf, ready to use connectors to achieve this in the simplest of the fashion. The end result, a seamless dynamic real time data sync model. In simple terms, when we think about event sourcing, the main core components are a publisher and a subscriber. And there are business logic, API, services, etc. I'm pretty sure you've got a design already in your mind going, and there are very many different multiple ways to implement this. So let me share my versions of it as well. Okay. So this is a kind of a simplistic design pattern for our use case. Let's first take Salesforce to database. Here, the first piece is the publisher. And here, if you can see in the diagram, it's an account CDC, which is a Salesforce change data capture, which is a streaming product for account object. For this use case, it's for the account object, and it's in Salesforce. The subscriber here is incorporated by readily available MuleSoft Salesforce Replay channel subscriber. And then the dotted line here, I must say, is an asynchronous approach. What is asynchronous? Something where a client calls something or a request is made and the client does not wait for the request. Is asynchronous. It goes parallelly and it just finishes off on its own. It's asynchronous. You don't wait for the response. The caller does not wait for the response. Here, after the subscriber, there is an async pass to a distributor. Now, it's a terminology I'm using to distribute the payload to the business APIs, which needs to do something with this payload or the event. In this scenario, the distributor invokes the n number of APIs. You can deem it distributor as a broker or a syndicator or something like that. In our scenario, we are going to have a distributor or a distributor invoke a process API which syncs the account data to a database. Now you will ask, why a distributor? Why do we need such a component in between? Because right now the use case might be just syncing the data to a database, right? But say in future, you might have another use case which may need this event and payload for something else. Example, syncing it in NetSuite. In which case, hey, all you need to do is develop your new API, just plug it in your distributor, and that's it. You're all set. No changes to the publisher or definitely the subscriber. So let's look into the code behind. With MuleSoft, it's very simple and easy. So the first component here you'll see is a Salesforce Replay Channel Listener. It is an out-of-box connector offered by via Mulesoft, and it has all the right components to configure in terms exposed in terms of configuration, which publisher it wants to listen to. Okay, what is the method? Also, it has a very cool concept of a replay ID, which basically keep tracks of the events which are consumed and not consumed, and so on and so forth. So it always stays up to date, right? So there are a lot many configurations inside it, which really takes off the complicacy out of our subscriber component in terms of retries, reprocessing, caps, etc. The other aspect is this distributor, which I mentioned in the design pattern. So this is a kind of a flow reference. The flow reference is nothing but another call out made to another subflow, another subcomponent of the flow. And here you can see it's async. Again, it's asynchronous. With MuleSoft, it's just a drag and drop. I know my fellow developers who might have worked with native languages in the past, if you have to do asynchronous thing, it's a kind of a coding involved there in terms of merging, in terms of lots of things as well. So here it's an easy to use. Here we are calling a distributor async, and then this is the distributor flow. Here in the distributor, the main component is the async approach of calling even your business logic APIs uh, asynchronously. Something I would like to mention here is a scatter gather, which I have put here. So I really love this component or connector, and I'm pretty sure the MuleSoft developers here definitely would kind of agree with me as well. So this helps you run your APIs parallelly, basically multi-threading. Again, my native developers know that when we do multi-threading in any native languages, there's a lot to take care of. There's how many threads, how to spawn threads, how to merge threads, how to wait, right? Like all those things, all deadlocks and everything. There are a lot of things to be taken care of. But in MuleSoft is just one drag and drop. It is scatter gather, and we get all that functionality out of the box. And here in this example, I've called out the Upsert database, which is what our use cases. Then maybe Upsert to NetSuite as well, Upsert to another Salesforce instance, right? So we can just punch in and call them parallelly and have our API of synchronization going. Everything in a click of a button and configurations. Some things I've not highlighted here, but you can see the logging, the error handling is also just drag and drop in terms of MuleSoft here. Now that brings me to my first question. Which streaming product in Salesforce publishes change events which represent changes to Salesforce records? If you can reply it on your chat.
We already
Yeah.
have, like, before your question, even someone has answered that.
All right. I think Amrit was the first one to answer.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Amrit. Yes, bang on. All right. Moving on to next. So we saw from Salesforce to database. Okay. Now let's see the other way around. And obviously, just using MuleSoft, how do we capture events from a database to Salesforce, right? So in this example, let's just say that there is a web portal or a web service or a web page or something which inserts records in an account table in a particular database. Okay, so MuleSoft offers an out-of-box component here as well, and we'll look into it momentarily. But only the publisher component change. Sorry, the publisher is that not per se a publisher, but it's basically a database which inserts into the database. And then we have the on table row subscriber, which I'll show you momentarily. And then the rest of the aspects of distributors and invoking the API, that design pattern remains the same. So let's look at the code behind. All right. So here, this is the main core, and this is the only piece which changes, which is a subscriber, which is the on table row. Again, the on table row, if you look into the connector aspect of it, there's lots of good documentation, good examples on it, and very readily used, and very yeah, simplistically used as well. Very nicely configuration offered in terms of the tables, the rows, the events, the handling, and everything. So that's it's it that in itself is a whole topic, but that is what we can use here. And then the rest of the components like async in terms of design pattern, the rest of the components remains the same, right? Of course, the changes happens to the business logic APIs, obviously, because now you're syncing back to Salesforce, right? Instead of, or you want to sync it to NetSuite or whatsoever. But the end business logic APIs, they differ. Now that brings me to my next trivia question.
Uh, yeah.
Sorry,
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
which field in MuleSoft Salesforce subscriber replay channels allow you to keep track of the events? Yep, I think
Uh,
Vishal Kumar Padiyar got the answer.
yeah. Guys,
Thank
please
you.
send your email IDs separately to us. Okay. And before that, we have a question from Sudhir Jayashree.
Mhm.
So Scatter Gather is waiting for the response from individual response, but it has been used in async block. How are failures handled if a specific route fails?
Yeah, so depends on how you want to handle the failure, right? So failure, you can either handle it by say putting the event back into an error handling queue, right? Which you will monitor at later stage of time, right? Or obviously there are simplistic methods like emails and chatter if you have used Salesforce as well. So there are other straightforward methodologies as well. So there, that's a good question, by the way.
Yeah, and another thing, what I see is we have the replay ID.
Mhm.
If a specific route is failing when I do the resubmission from Salesforce, it will again go to all three routes.
I will
And
come to
it's
that point.
perfect. Okay,
it
thank you.
it has it is covered in some later stage as
Okay,
well.
thank you. Thanks for
I have a similar question, but I'll come. I'll ask you later.
that. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks for that.
okay,
Thank you.
no
Please
problem,
go
no
ahead.
problem. All right, so moving on. So this is a simplistic design pattern we have, as what we covered. We have a subscriber, we have a distributor, and we have our business logic APIs, right? So in another way, the idea here is simple, like a publisher calling a subscriber, which calls a distributor, all happening asynchronously. Subscriber and distributor are marked as system API as per MuleSoft API categorization, and later the process APIs are called out for actual business logic processing. So, what are the benefits we've gained as a result? So, first thing is we avoided huge amount of coding. This in itself is the biggest benefit. Why reinvent the wheel, right? We achieved what we wanted, maintaining the integrity of the data, and that to real time. There were configurable settings as well, like the replay ID, how big the queue would be, retention period, and many other aspects in terms of database on table row as well. The design is highly scalable, manageable, and extendable as well. The only upfront maintenance uh, would it would require is upgrading the connector version whenever a new version is available, which again is not that taxing. It is very straightforward version change in your POM file, in the dependencies of your POM file. And yep, it's all Maven, so it's as easy as just upgrading that version. All right, so let's see at an alternative approach using MuleSoft. Like that was a the main altering or the main change here is the distributor in the original design directly call the APIs which were required, right? So this is a kind of a variation to that you can have. Here the pub sub and the distributor async callouts remains the same, but the distributor, instead of calling the process APIs asynchronously, it resubmits the event to respective GMS queues. Okay, there are separate subscribers for each queue whose events are then processed by the respective process APIs. So this might answer your question as well in some aspects as to how the events are handled if multiple things are done in this kind of design. You can also use topics here instead of queues,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I was about to say so because the architecture would become more complex. We have to
I'll come to
maintain
that
more
too. I'll come to
operational based queues.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I'll come to that too. But the benefit of this design is there is any new system which also requires this account sync event, then no changes are to be done to the core subscriber publisher subscriber code line. Like all you have to do is just have your new API listen to that particular respective subscriber topic or the queue, and you're done. Now, things to consider, as Sudhir, you also mentioned, a bit of maintenance required here with the number of queues, also transient and persistent messages, especially if the runtime restarts, or even when you move containers, right? When you, which is data centers or anything, right? So, other alternative approach. Hey, the good old DB approach. Instead of database, you can use object store, you can use flat file, depending on your business use case and your availability in your business as well. So here, the main fundamental of this is, I'll explain it with a database. So creating a table with relevant data. Now, what data does it have? It has a chunk of data for the source system, and it has a chunk of data for the destination system. Let's see what data does it have for the source system. So I've put some example data. Obviously, this can be extended as well. So the first is the source system. Where is the event? Which system is the event coming from? Which object in that system is that event coming from? And what type of event, whether it's create, update, or delete, right? That is the source system information. Coming to the destination, when I get such an event, which destination API with which method do I need to invoke? And some comments around that API. Additionally, you can have a status column, active, inactive. You can have some a start date, terminated date, and those kind of things as well. So, this becomes a cohesive one aspect for your audits and compliance as well. Now, you must notice that I have on purpose not provided the complete URI in the destination API URI, and that's for security reasons. As a person who works for BlackBerry, security is in our DNA and a core aspect, so the hat is always on. So that aspect is extracted out in a secure store, okay, and the design will take care of the fact on how to pull it. Now, going to the design here also. Oops. Here also, the pub sub and the distributor async calls remains the same. But the idea here is with the distributor, it will now call this DB for this data and retrieve all that data and all that information to make it more efficient. Obviously, for every event, you don't want to make chuck DB call. Too much IO right there, right? So you can cache it with a good time to leave and stuff like that, depending on your business as to how frequently does this data change, right? And then grab that information and have your choice router saying, hey, whatever are for the create events goes here, what update events goes here, and delete goes here. And then you just basically, or you can have just one loop. You don't even have choice, right? Depending on a very minimal logic, you can, in a for each loop, in an asynchronous, you can call each API. Okay. Now the callouts, the benefit of this is the callouts are entirely configurable now. There is absolute zero code change. Tomorrow, if you want to say, I was syncing it to a NetSuite system and I don't want that sync anymore, all you need to do is just remove that entry from your database. And if you're using cache, then refresh the cache. That's it, right? If you want to add it, similar approach, right? Database, as I said, database, you can replace it with a good persistent object store or a flat file, a think of your choice as well. Coming to when whenever we work with any event sourcing, whether you implement it with any technology, there are some things to keep in mind when you do anything with publisher and subscriber. And it's first is the feedback loop. If your source and the destination systems are the same, in our use case, Salesforce and database, right? We are syncing accounts from Salesforce to database and from database to Salesforce, right? And you're upserting into the same object that you're listening to, you will end up in a continuous loop. When you get an event from Salesforce, you insert it into database, that's going to create an event, and you again will start syncing to Salesforce. So the same data per se will go in a continuous loop, right? So in tech terms, we call it a feedback loop. One simple way to avoid this is very simplistic way is in your subscriber and your listener, you can check who the creator or the owner of that data or the owner of that event is in which generates this event. And thereby if it's your service account or your automation user, then just drop the event using a choice connector. Or you can implement more smarter logic with mutex in your events, event payload and stuff like that as well. The other thing you need to consider is poison messages. What are poison messages? The messages with the publisher publishes, but the consumer fails to consume, and therefore they are resent. They continuously get resent via retries, and they can cause a bottleneck, right? this can be an, this can be a problematic approach, but there are some configurations within the chat within the subscribers itself that you can use in order to manage that. Okay, either route those things, as and when you get a message, you route that to an error queue, or you drop that message if you're not worried about that, or do something about that, or you have just n number of retries. Okay, or you make the replay id configurable, thereby you can punch in the next replay id when you so that it picks up from that onwards and stuff. So there are various ways to even implement or address that scenario as well. That pretty much concludes my presentation. Before I go to the next last trivia question, I would like to share this quote. I love it, from Albert Einstein: creativity is intelligence having fun. I really do resonate with this quote with my experience in MuleSoft platform, because it hides all the nitty gritty of day to day development, security, scalability, documentation, even etc., so efficiently, and it lets you focus and be creative with your design for best efficient business solutions that will suit your business needs as well, and really keep you engaged. So that brings to my last trivia question: which MuleSoft routing processor component allows parallel processing of events in the code? Yep. Oh my God. Okay, Rajiv Mathur. I guess you got that. Thank you, Rajiv. Congratulations. With that, I hope my session added a little bit to your knowledge share, and help you achieve your business goal using MuleSoft technology. So I'll jump on to questions, if any.
Shravan, you're talking on mute, Shravan.
So I'm trying to make everyone on a presenter mode so that you can unmute yourself and ask questions. Guys who are not winning trivia quiz, don't worry. You have many other options. If at all you are really looking for a voucher to give MCD level 1 exam, you can always go to training.mulesoft.com and complete the training. You will be awarded with a free certification attempt. And for those who didn't, you have many more meetups, and also there is a chance to win a training voucher that you can be a speaker. So come up with a good topic. You can reach out to any of the groups like Torrent, or you have like hundreds of groups now. So reach out to leader, tell your topic, try to present it, and that's one of the ways that you can avail. So don't get disappointed, you have many ways.
Yeah, and I think we have a question. Sudhir raised his hand, right? Sudhir?
Yeah, that's right. I just wanted to know the challenge which we might anticipate. The one of the replay ID thing, getting the replay from Salesforce. All of those calls are contributed towards the governor limits in Salesforce. I just wanted to
Yes,
understand
that's
your
Yes,
thoughts if we
yes.
decouple the subscription process, have an anypoint MQ, and you bring in the data into MQ, and then you do the transaction management or you the broadcast pattern using MuleSoft. What's your thought? How do you think that would pan
Yes.
out in your solution?
Yes, very good question, Sudhir. And yes, we have faced that aspect as well. So, just to reiterate, simplistically on Sudhir's question is when we consume Salesforce in terms of publishing the events, it has a cap. It
Yeah.
is a cap. It can publish or let the consumer only consume some amount of events, and if you go above that, you have to purchase lots of events. That's the model. Obviously, it's a money making model as well, and that's what Salesforce CRM has incorporated in their system. So obviously, one straightforward answer is to increase the limits of your thing, of your events. How to handle it more proficiently. Actually, this time I heard that in this Dreamforce event, there was a session where they have come up with, um, initially they were not allowing the criteria. I mentioned about the feedback loop event, right? Where the automation user, let's say the name is automation user, creates another event because it's publishing back from database to Salesforce. It's create an event and we are dropping it at our event, but it counts towards the limit, right? It counts towards the limit. We are dropping it because we don't need it. So that was calculated towards that some aspect. But now Salesforce has come up with the fact that you can put your filter criteria right up front in that CDC. So then your consumption, basically, it's only to the limited number of events which are consumed. So it will drastically, definitely reduce the amount of events consumed. Unfortunately, other than using the platform events or the CDC events or the ones that Salesforce has exposed, there is no way that we can have an out of box publisher or custom publisher generated for like account or contact or those kind of objects and stuff. And if we do that, then obviously it will bring all the maintenance. I'm pretty sure it can be done in Java or something of that sort, or Comet D or something like that. But it will be an additional headache to basically consume that or maintain that as well.
So, do you think that ownership should sit with integration, or how can I make my target better to understand the duplicates handling? So I can build a staging table and dump it in there, and then can I give the responsibility to the database to manage the duplicates and
Mhm.
bring down the poison message rather than building that functionality within integration?
Absolutely, absolutely. If that is something that works with your business model, that also definitely can be done. Instead of putting it in a queue, put it in a database or a flat file or something, whatever it definitely, yes,
Thank you.
100%.
Thank you.
Can be a different business model as well, and that's something new I learned as well. So that is good approach as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adir.
Yeah, I have a question, Jayashree.
Yeah,
So this
Shravan.
is a bit technical. So I worked with this replay IDs like 4 years back. Then we had some issues like whenever Salesforce publish events, when we consume.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so when Salesforce publishes some events, I think they won't be storing any information regarding those replay ID, at least the number that that Salesforce is sending. For
Mm-hmm.
example, if something happens from our side, like suppose there is a database connectivity issue or we are not able to connect it to the external systems and we
Mm-hmm.
lost that replay ID,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
I remember we had three options. One is like, or whenever the application starts, pick all the
Mm-hmm.
replay IDs, or it starts
Mm-hmm.
from specific replay ID. So how are
Mm-hmm.
we gonna handle that, missing replay IDs that caused because of our application?
Right, right. So from the subscriber perspective, and
Yeah,
Shravan, we have faced this problem.
yeah,
Okay, we have, and I'm pretty sure any person who have the event sourcing would have definitely faced the
yeah,
problem. It's not so the way we handle, or the way you can handle this issue, or we efficiently handle this issue, and it has worked for us, is you are bang on the fact that it's at the end of the day you have to have the replay ID, right? So we have a mechanism where right now all the events which are consumed, we capture the replay ID, the last replay ID which is there in an object store.
okay,
Okay, and we are and which actually has a separate mechanism of auditing as well. So we bang on know that which was the last successful replay ID that was processed. Now say subscriber craps or something, or it doesn't fail, or say runtime went
yeah,
down, whatever, we
yeah,
know the last replay ID which is there. and
yeah,
and when we restart, and we have made the replay ID as a configurable item
yeah,
via mule artifact JSON as well as via properties files. So all we need to do is when we restart, we get the last replay ID from our object store, we punch it into our restart parameters, and it starts picking up from there.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and one point to it, right? The same happens with us as well, regarding the replay channel listener part. What we have done is, as a part of the solution now, uh, we have created a lambda component in AWS. What it does is, for every failure that happens on top of that, it captures the messages and it checks whether it completely processed or not. And if it is not processed, now that API is currently listening to a retry queue, we push that message to that retry queue and it will get processed. So that way we don't need to rely on the replay channel listener event. And also, one point to add there, right? The governance limit is also, what we have done is, in Salesforce, now we are not using the replay channel listener. Now it is responsibility of Salesforce to send those messages via queue, that either they can go to Amazon SQS or Anypoint MQ. That capability is given, that is given to them, and now they are pushing to a queue. So instead of listening to a replay channel messages, now the message is being sent on SQS. So that's how we have increased the reliability of that pattern as well.
Very nice approach, Anurag. Thank you. I really like the Lambda approach, and I think it can suit very well when you are in like a cloud and the subscriber is in the cloud environment as well,
Yep.
and it can help. You can leverage the AWS features. I saw one question